Hello friends, welcome to Adobe Live. I'm Jack and we're here today with Paola, a graphic designer and YouTube creator joining us from Australia today. So super early for you, Paola. Hopefully
Oh
you've got
yeah.
your coffee ready. If you're in our live chat on Behance or on YouTube, feel free to say hi and ask any questions. Speaking of, if you haven't already, check out and subscribe to our Adobe Live YouTube channel. And you can hang out with our community over there and check out the latest streams. Also, before us today, we had the creative challenges from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Pacific, where you can practice your skills, including a special 3D bootcamp all this week before the stream at 10 a.m. Pacific. But Paola is going to be showing us how to elevate your branding projects with some custom type today. Why don't you tell us a bit more about your work, Paola, and then we can dive into some type.
Okay, cool. Okay, so yes, I am Paola Kassa. That's what I'm known as online. I'm a freelance graphic designer, but also a YouTube content creator. And that's really my main focus. And that's kind of like my online portfolio. So this is my channel. If anyone's interested, if you haven't heard of me and want to subscribe, this is where I upload a lot of my work. And I do lots of different design videos to get inspired, lots of vlogs, and little tutorials here and there, but mostly like branding projects and fun things. I just rebranded all of my logo and stuff, so that was a really fun project if you want to check it out. So yeah, that's me. Um, Mostly just doing YouTube and design all the time. That's all I do. So yeah. But yeah, we can get started with what we're doing today. So typography. I love typography. It's my favorite part of design. I love discussing things like this and creating things like this. So I wanted to start just going over a little bit about the variations of logos, just as it pertains to today's stream, what we're doing. So a logotype is a type-based logo. So there are lots of different types of logos. I mean, a logo can be anything really, but something that's specifically type-based is called a logotype. That's something like Google or NASA. I put NASA in there because I just love it. I love that branding. But a logo mark is more of a symbol, and these can all be different variations of the same brand. You know what I mean? So they could have a variation where it's a symbol, and they can have a type variation. There's really no limit to your branding choices. But a logo mark is more of a symbol that's non-type related. And then a letter mark, I like to think of a letter mark as a symbol in type. And that's kind of what we're going to be making today, because we're not going to be making a whole custom letter type, logo type, but we're making a letter mark. So that's like initials of a brand or just the letter of a brand. And again, that can be a variation, like in Louis Vuitton, that's a variation. But it really works for luxury brands, I think. It's really beneficial for luxury brands, I think, because they can really benefit from having a symbol that represents them that everyone can recognize from there. So what I have here is Loewe and Louis Vuitton. Loewe I really like because it has this curvy L that they've made into its own symbol, but it's still type-based. So yeah, that's kind of the different variations. And yeah, we're going to be making a letter mark. So let's just get going, because I really just want to play today. We're not going to be super like serious and like make a whole brand and stuff. I just want to play around with making letters, and I wanted to show you all how you can bring in some of your letters that maybe you've drawn into vectors and different methods, and like just how to do it in such easy and fun ways. So yeah.
So looks like we've got some sketches that we're gonna
yes. So we're bringing in sketches, which I am not always like the biggest on sketching, but when it comes to type, it just is so fun. And there's so many different ways you can do it. And then you can just bring it into Illustrator and change everything about it if you really want to. And it's just really fun. Like, it's a really fun way to play with letters for the first time if you haven't. So yeah, let's just get into it.
Do you tend to use that sort of dot paper in your sketchbook?
Yes. So yeah, it really depends. My current sketchbook for lettering is dotted paper. I've found that it's a lot more helpful when I have a sort of grid to work with. Yeah, so what I guess I want to share is about bringing in your sketches. Dotted paper might not be the best, because if you want to do different methods, like it might be distracting to you if you want to do it on plain paper. But bringing it into Illustrator is fairly easy. bringing in a sketch, I just took photos, like actual photos on my phone, because I don't have a scanner. You can use a scanner totally. Like that's a great method. Obviously, it's going to be flat and perfect. But even using your phone, if you don't have access to something like that, just take a photo, bring it in, even turn it black and white if you want that contrast up, and just bring it into any file to just start creating. That's really my go-to. So yeah, super easy to bring in stuff to Illustrator and start turning it into vectors, which I think is the main point of what I'm doing here today. So let's get into it. One of the methods I like to do, the pen tool, that's a main thing I use. And I like to do a very offsetting color from black because I don't want to get distracted when I start. So this is like a great way to just begin, just bring in your photo and just start playing around with the pen tool on top of the letter you're working on.
Yeah, that's a great tip, to start with a color that kind of contrasts with the color of your sketch so you can actually see your line work a little bit easier while you're working.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, I usually tell people with branding too to like start in black and white. I totally stand by that. But with lettering, it's kind of just a free-for-all at first, and then you can start kind of go back into black and white. Like I would say start with color, have some fun at first, and then just see what you want to do. But like I said, I'm just like, I love playing around with this stuff. And especially with the pen tool, it's really not about perfection, especially at first, because you can just go back and edit and play and it's fine. Like do whatever you want, you know? So that's kind of what I wanted to highlight for sure.
That's the nice thing about the pen tool with those points, is you can always go back and adjust those curves as you're working. Nothing's set in stone.
Exactly. So like with this, I always start very roughly, and then I just start looking at what I can do to change it up. And I love this like curving tool. It's my favorite ever. It changes everything.
The line corners, yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite. You'll be seeing a lot of that. Yeah.
We've got a couple of questions already coming in. Robert wants to know if you've ever worked with Adobe Fresco, which is another, I think it's primarily on the iPad, but I know that you can use it on some Windows devices as well.
Oh, okay. I actually haven't. I'm not sure exactly what that is.
Yeah, it's more of like a painting
okay, cool.
app, but I know that some people like to use it for like more hand lettering type of work.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And Anthony says, would you consider yourself to be a font geek?
A font geek? Absolutely. Definitely that. I am obsessed. That's primarily what I like to focus on in my design work. Definitely not an Illustrator. This is probably as illustrative as I get when it comes to like anything in design, really, because drawing letter forms is fun for me and I've practiced a lot. So I feel like I have more confidence there, but especially with just drawing and painting, I'm not confident at all.
Yeah, that's a good point that I think usually gets brought up in the chat often, which is if you have to be really good at drawing to do, lettering or branding work.
Yeah, definitely. I would say you don't have to be, like, honestly, you can get away with so many different things. And I say that in like a good way. Like you can really just be yourself as a designer. I mean, me and myself, I'm not good at programs and I'm not good at illustrating, but I make it work for myself. Like, like I practice, I take the time, obviously, but I really am I do things my own way. I think that's the best way to say it. Like I like to make things up as I go along. And I think some people would say like, oh, well, you're not as experienced with that. I'm like, I got the experience. Don't worry. I'm just doing it the weird way.
Well, you've got there's a million ways to do the same thing in Illustrator, right?
Exactly.
That's the beauty of it, but it lets you kind of develop your own workflow. So what works for you may not work for, somebody else, but
exactly.
You got to kind of experiment, like you said, and explore everything and figure out what that is. So
exactly, I'm always experimenting, and especially with type like this, like if you want to draw and bring in your stuff and just start playing around, it really is fun. Like it doesn't have to be so serious, and I think it can really help with branding in the future. Like if you're planning on doing other branding projects, like just practicing this stuff, working with your own sketches is so important. And I love practicing with type. Also with your sketches, like don't be so upset if they're not perfect. I also like to do really rough sketches. Like I have some here that we're going to work with that are just still in pencil. You don't have to like make them flawless before you bring them in either. Like I said, it's just fun. That's really what I like to drive home.
Definitely. Everybody in the chat is also mentioning Adobe Capture, if you are familiar
Oh,
with
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's a great one to use. Definitely. I didn't even think about that. I don't know why. But yeah, so many ways to do things. Exactly. Like now everyone's giving me suggestions, see, because it's like we all have our own methods and things that are easier for us or whatever. So yeah, here's a shape that I didn't just do perfectly. It's really about editing after, which I think is the fun part, you know, playing around and seeing what you can do differently with a letter, even though you drew it out. Like, what can you change after the fact that's going to make it even better?
And this would be sort of like your typical process for this type of work, is just kind of experimenting, or
it's definitely yeah, it's definitely experimenting, but you know, sometimes I will have it really flushed out, like on a grid or something, or using guides. When I'm using guides, that's more for making different letters. So like if I wanted to make more letters out of, say, this in the same style, I'd probably start bringing in like this and just, you know, lining it up. And you can get really in there and make sure you're like lining it up perfectly. And, you know, bringing in other shapes that inform the next letter, especially if you're making like a word for a logo or something. You can definitely draw those out and kind of plan that out, but you can also do it digitally and just get started with shapes that you already have. And then just think, how can that inform my next letter? You know, what's that going to be?
Yeah, so you can kind of build out this sort of design system out of these pieces and parts to create a consistent style for all your letters.
Exactly.
Gareth is saying, I like to take my sketches as far as inking in Fresco and then into Illustrator, from there into Illustrator for adding color. So
okay.
That is how awesome. Gareth uses Fresco to go from Fresco to Illustrator. Sounds like, Gareth, you do more like you're sketching digitally versus like on paper.
Yeah, I'm definitely like an on paper sketcher. If that makes sense. But yeah, so like something like this, if you wanted to kind of use the same shapes into a different letter form, like what would that look like with what you already have, you know?
Yeah, and you're just kind of taking that existing style and building on top of it. It's a great way to create a cohesive set of letters.
Exactly. Yeah, and I've definitely done that before in branding, and just having that practice, like having this type of practice really does help, because, you know, it helps you in your future projects with, oh, okay, I've done this before. Like, it's not going to take me 3 hours this time of figuring out. It's going to feel natural. Let's change that to black. Like I said, I like to go back to black and white just right away, even if I'm playing with color at the beginning, just to get those shapes right. But I do like to stay in black and white right at the beginning before I finalize things.
Yeah, I think it's good practice, even if you know, like you said, no matter where you kind of start, to make sure that your this can kind of stand on its own in one color block. Just kind of like a good practice. Ooh, I've been waiting for this one.
Okay, I'm excited about this one. I'm really excited about it. Yeah, this is the one that I did not draw out in ink because I want to do some color and I have an idea and I'm ready to execute it. So let's roll with it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about this one too.
That one caught my eye for sure.
let's start with a brighter color again.
Yes.
Just so we can see. It's just good for your eyes. I mean, you don't need to work with something that looks exactly like it on the background.
And all of the letter forms that you're kind of creating here have a very organic kind of shape to them.
Yeah, I would say that's more my style, probably. But yeah, I also wanted to do something fun, especially for the stream. Like, I didn't want to do, a simple typeface or just a serif font or a sans serif. Like, we can do something a little more unique. Especially, that's the fun with branding with your own custom type, is that you can make it really fun. You don't have to do something simple. But then that can help you in the future, like, make simple letters as well, because those ones are a lot more technical, and I think you have to be skilled to create good serif and sans serif, like nice typeface looking letters. But these are definitely like fun, bright, crazy. But I love that.
Anthony says it's reminding them of a cheese puff.
Oh my god, yes. Let's call this
We're
the
all
cheese
about
puff
food.
letter.
On this,
yeah, very food related here. That's so funny because I actually want to put, I think, orange on this, which is
nice.
Maybe I was thinking cheese puff too. Uh-oh. We're all thinking about food. Yeah, I'm liking how that looks. So I'm just starting with like the bones of it. I like to call it like just the outward skeleton, and then we'll get into detail.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to work. It's kind of like large to small. Getting your structure, the anatomy of the letter, essentially.
Exactly. I love talking about the anatomy of type. It always comes back to that. Like, literally, I'm just saying skeleton. I'm like, oh yeah, anatomy. Perfect. That's what I learned. That's what I know. But yeah. Let me just make this a little bit more curvy. Oops.
Nice. So is there anything you're hoping to kind of learn or focus on this year? Any new?
I want to do more like tactile art with graphic design. I love that. I love that direction, and I would love to do more for myself, just self-motivated projects. I love branding, but I love, creating like fun real objects too. So I just want to use my graphic design to do that. And I think I can do that. Yeah, we're gonna make this a gradient because it's fun.
Nice. Simu says the initial sketch reminded me of the Warner Brothers logo from the 80s. The W,
oh my
I
gosh.
guess.
I like that. I do like 80s design. Let's bring that.
Adding a bit of a linear gradient here.
Yes, we're gonna do
some dimension.
Have
you explored any of the 3D tools?
I have not as much. I think I'm afraid of 3D. As a designer, I just I'm not great with it.
Definitely takes some practice, for sure.
Yeah.
We've got the 3D bootcamp all this week.
Oh yeah, I actually was promoting for that, which I was excited about tuning into a couple. Because I did a promotion for it where I was letting people know, my followers know too. Hopefully they saw it and joined in. Is it not changing? I'm having an issue today. Here we go. Maybe I can do this. Ha.
Yeah, that's when it's on grayscale or black and white, you can't actually add color. It's a little...
I know, and I kept trying to change it, and it wasn't. Yeah, if you get stuck here and you're like, why is it only black and white? Just always go up to like the 3 lines wherever you're at, and
that's a good tip.
Yes.
Now I'm getting like a bit of a gold feel to this. Maybe we're gonna go that route.
A bit gold. I think what I'm thinking with the gradient is that it just gives it more of a rounded shape to have kind of a color change. So that's kind of my thought process here. Let's change this one a little bit. Ooh.
I could see this process really lending itself well to like planning before you get into the tactile stuff like you were talking about this year.
Yes,
like maybe doing
definitely.
some planning and then actually building stuff out.
Yeah, definitely. I think this type of work really does help me plan. It really helps my brain. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna make some shapes over top of it for these little lines, but they're gonna become cutouts.
Booth saying, I think I need to get grips with 1D and then 2D before I start on 3D.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just, as a brand designer and just designer in general, I focus so much on the 2D. I think 3D scares me. I'm so impressed by 3D designers. Like, I don't know how to do that. So I'm just making some shapes here over top that are gonna be hopefully cool. And I actually did practice this shape for the stream. I was trying to be prepared. But I did make like a little mock-up. So I do have like this shape, a different version, on a little like with an overprint texture on it. So I'll show that in a minute too, once we're done with it. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is minus the front. Cool.
Nice.
Kind of cute. So let's just start changing these shapes, make sure it looks smooth.
Those live corners coming in handy again.
I just love the live corners. I think it definitely took me practice too to work with them. I mean, it does take a lot to work with letterforms. You know, you have to really pay attention because I think it can get difficult, especially if you're trying to be really technical with stuff. Like, it can get a little intimidating, but yeah, just find the fun in it, you know? So that's cool, these little cutouts. So let's do the little, this little reflection shape that I wanted to do on it.
Little highlight there, a little sharp highlight.
Yeah, let's make it white right away.
Nice. Do you ever work with the blob brush tool?
No, I don't. As if you will notice a pattern, I am afraid of working with new tools.
No worries.
I mean, I definitely need to sit down and do more. I know that about myself, but I also just like love my methods. I have my methods and I'm stuck in them. And I think a lot of designers can relate to that.
Definitely. I think whatever gets the end result, you know.
Exactly.
Like
that's what I always try to encourage, like on my channel. You know, people who may not have like expertise in this field or feel that they're behind or that they're self-taught and they're trying to catch up. It's like, I just always encouraging people, like, do what you do. Be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Because, I mean, look at me. Like, I don't need to be the best designer in the world. And I don't think I have all of it together. But I think I'm doing what I'm doing and it's working. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with myself as a designer. So I'm just going to change this shape more free form.
RB loves the gradient that you put on this.
Oh, cool. I'm glad you guys like it too, because I was wondering.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Seems like it.
So that's kind of what I was picturing with this one. I love
Moving
it.
through these.
I know. But let me show you. Actually, I have it over here. I can show you in my layer. Here's the other one I made.
Ooh,
I guess it ended up being
yeah.
a bit of a different orange, but yeah, it looks similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I actually brought that in. Ooh, let's not spoil. Actually, I'll show you at the end in case I accidentally spoil another letter I want to do.
Not spoil it.
Yeah, let's not do spoilers. But yeah, that one's another one. That's a fun one. And I love the gradient. I do think it brings in that rounded shape for sure. So if that's something you're trying to work with and you're thinking, how can I get this feeling? Maybe try a gradient. Could be fun.
Annika saying very on trend with the soft pop type.
Yes, definitely on trend. I'm trying to go with the trends here, you know. I'm trying to be trendy with the kids.
RB says the blob brush tool is extremely hard to master. It can be tricky. I think if you've ever used Illustrator on the iPad, I find it to be a little bit easier on there. But then on the desktop. On the desktop, you really have to have like a pen tablet or something. I think somebody asked also, by the way, let me scroll up, if you were using a mouse or stylus.
Oh, I'm gonna get roasted in a second here.
Is it are you using a trackpad?
I use a trackpad for everything.
Again, though, no shade.
Yeah, exactly.
You
it's
gotta
my
use
method.
what you gotta use. You know?
It's my method, guys. No, I know. I always get roasted by my followers, and they're probably in the chat right now roasting me because they're like, I can't believe you use a trackpad. How do you do that? And I'm just like, listen. Listen, I love it. I have a mouse. I just don't, even if I have it set up and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to use this today, I will find myself using my trackpad 5 minutes later. So I don't know what to tell you guys. Yeah. Like I said, definitely not an Illustrator. I'm not using a stylus. I don't start, on my iPad and stuff. I'm just not that person. So if you're not that person, don't feel bad about your branding ability or your lettering ability, even with this type of stuff. Because look at what I just made. And I would say is illustrative. And we just ran with it.
Annika's saying, love that. I use a trackpad from the left and mouse from my right hand. So
oh my gosh. The talent. And you know what? I'm left-handed too. So I get too. That. Oh, nice. Nice. Love that. I love finding left-handed people. It's my favorite.
Fabio's saying this community doesn't roast anybody. We are all nice people. It's very true.
I love that. I love that. If you're nice, come join my community too over on YouTube. I want to be with the nice people. Okay, so with this one, I'm starting with shapes, not the pen tool. I think this is another method that's great to use if you're trying to start with lettering. Starting with shapes can be really fun because it can be like block lettery or just start changing it from there. It doesn't have to be block lettery, so it can be fun. This is another method to what you can do. And actually, I'm not even going to use the pen tool here. I'm going to use a circle, the ellipse tool.
Nice.
Just to really start making them. And I'm going to change the color. Again, it's like I go crazy with color at first just to like really see it with my eyes. And then, you can start fixing it and just start looking at it in black and white because I don't think the interest should be color. It should really be what you're making.
Definitely. It's also just, like you said, easier to see as you're working,
Yeah, and like make it easier on yourself. You don't have to be so technical. It's okay.
You don't have to worry about it looking, like so perfect through the whole process.
Yeah.
Just get,
Exactly.
As long as the end result.
Make your process as messy as possible. That's always my advice to people. Make your process horrible. Like make the ugliest things you've ever made and then see what happens. Okay, I like that.
Gareth also uses a combination of trackpad, stylus, and keyboard shortcuts. So lots of trackpad, folks.
Yeah, that's cool. I found my people.
Definitely.
That is so funny.
Kristen and Gareth are also lefties. And Clever saying, if I did some roasting, I'd use mustard.
Oh my god, I love this chat. They're so funny. Good. I'm glad no one's roasting me today. I'm happy for the support. The supportive community.
All right, so
see, just with shapes, no pen tool. Look what we made. Like I love it.
That's
I
so
love
cute.
doing that. Yeah.
I
I
love the
actually like the
size
blue.
contrast too.
Yeah. Super cute. Like something again that you can take those same shapes and really start working with more lettering. You know what I mean? So like if you have this shape, I would say really start working with the same shapes and the same widths, and that is what makes cohesive type. Same widths is really important too, especially if you start making more letters out of something. Just making sure you're doing something consistent.
So you're gonna start with like the same base here.
Yeah. Like even just making another simple letter. Let's see what that could make. What letter could I make? Well, even this, I mean, if I wanted to make more letters, say like for a little bit, like just to start, I love starting with U's. I mean, especially if I'm doing vowels and stuff. But yeah, like just moving in, it's like, is it going to have that bar across? Could I get rid of the bar now? You know, just like already making those shapes that are similar for the same, for a logo or anything, like even making a typeface. I think making a typeface, you'd have to definitely do a lot more planning, especially in the sketching phase. But yeah, something just like simple, a simple word. This is a really fun way to start.
Yeah, there's when you're making and I've not made my own font, but I do know that there's like certain letters they tell you are good to like start with.
Yeah. There's a few. I've done it. I did it years ago now in university. I made a font and it was very, very fun. And I would love to do it again. But it is a big process. Like it takes so much planning. And yeah, I don't want to plan right now. I want to play, not plan. So even this, like another eye. I know I'm doing eyes, but it's fun. Definitely fun. And you can like center it, bring in these side guides, make sure you're centering that on top. And then making this rounded. It's like already looking similar. Especially
I
if
see
you're
AI there.
Yeah, AI. You know, it's all prevalent right now.
Oh, I was thinking Illustrator, but
Oh yeah. Duh. See, there's too many things that are like in my head right now with all these abbreviations. Illustrator. Welcome to Adobe
Anthony
Illustrator.
saying simple shapes for the win.
Yeah, just starting with simple shapes is very fun. And I think it can make something, you can make things really different too. Like it doesn't have to be this big rounded shape. It can be something really thin. Could be really dainty, could be very classical, you know, so there's lots you can do.
Yeah, like what you're talking about, the shapes, you can change the weight and style of things to change the look and feel.
Like I could do something starting here. It's not going to be the same at all, just with that rectangle shape. Just even, let's see. Let's do more, shall we? That's what we're here for.
Definitely. Where speaking of, I guess, where do you find your inspiration, or
Definitely
what?
a lot of my inspiration comes from, well, the internet. Yeah. Pinterest, I go on there all the time, always looking at new design ideas, just even for like new typefaces I want to be using. I'm like, ooh, what are people using lately? And what I've been really into, actually, my friend sent me an article about like the 80s style coming back, which I found really interesting because it wasn't about like rounded letters, wasn't about cartoon look. It was about like serifed fonts that just are from 80s advertising. And I loved that. I love that. I'm like, I would love to create stuff like that. So that really inspired me lately. I also picked up a magazine lately and was like, ooh, like again with that tactile projects, like, ooh, this is really interesting. Like people were like crocheting, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, you know, how can I use graphic design and my knowledge there to make a project? So yeah, here's something that looks completely different. I mean, obviously this is so basic. This is like squares. That's it. But it looks way different. You can just unite it there. It's like not the same at all.
Yeah, totally different look and feel than the other one.
Yeah.
With the thinner.
Start using the pen tool too to like start adding curves and stuff like that, and using like the ellipsis tool too. Ellipse tool.
Alexander also loves Pinterest.
Yeah, Pinterest is just the best. It has so much, even non-design things on there just inspire me in general, like colors and interior spaces. I'm just always looking on there for fun designs. Let's play with this one.
Yeah, I'm digging all the like curves that you've got in your letters for sure. These sketches.
I'm definitely having fun with this, with the curves. I'm just gonna move these all out of the way. I know I'm like a little bit of a mess with my artboards, but that's again what I like to do. I like to be a mess.
Definitely.
Let's extend this out a little bit.
When
not be so messy in front of an audience.
When you're working on a branding I mean, like that's how it goes though. You should see like my Illustrator files and I'm working on a branding project. It's just chaos. Yeah. And then there's like, oh, here's the artboard that's actually going to get presented.
Yeah. It's like, oh, here's the final stuff. But one of the final things is up there right now. Just ignore that.
Yeah.
Here it is on a small scale. Here it is giant.
Definitely.
Yeah. And that's fun too, especially like playing around with scale, with letters too. I mean, when you're making a logo, you play around with those things. And if this is going to be like a logo mark, a variation of a logo, and you're making this custom type, like try some different things out, you know?
Yeah, I loved your walkthrough of like how your explanation of a logo mark, a logotype, and a lettermark, and how it's not just one thing. Like a brand can have multiple.
Yeah. I mean, variations they're really important in branding, obviously, like having not just one logo, but different aspects. And I think, like I said, like luxury brands really benefit from that because it can be something that's very recognizable off the bat. And I think that's what's fun with custom lettering is you can make just really recognizable shapes and things that don't exist out there already. It's like it's really you. I'm just playing around with this because I'm not sure exactly how I want this curve to go. I might change up this letter a little bit because I'm not sure what it is that I like about it. I drew this one and I was like, it's interesting. Do I like this? Not sure. I want to just play around with some of these curves and maybe make them different than the drawing itself.
Alexander's also asking if you use the Capture app to start with ideas. Lots of people want to know about Capture today.
I do not, but maybe I should start now that everyone's talking about it. I feel kind of like FOMO right now. Guys, what's going on in the Capture app? Let me know. No, that is really, that's smart. I just haven't utilized as much.
Oh, I do like it.
Yeah, it actually ended up cute. It reminds me of like a flower. Like it could have that energy, especially if you are making other letters out of it or making a symbol out of it. Definitely like, definitely flowery.
Yeah.
And I kind of already like all the curves that I have in it.
Yeah, I don't know that I would want to change any of those. They look nice.
Yeah. Let's see if it's just smooth it out. Oh no, that does not. That changes the whole thing. No, I like that. Let's let's do something with that.
Super cool. Yes. I was hoping you were gonna get to like really starting to like break down these shapes.
I mean, even that, like, if this were a logo, what would it be for? You know what I mean? Like, That's the question. That's the question that we're getting to.
Definitely a very like funky brand with
Yeah.
the kind of like swirling shapes that you get in the negative space.
Yeah. And this could even become its own letter. I mean, this could be a Z.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. I'm not sure I love the purple. It kind of reminds me of currently like a tampon brand, which is funny to me because it's like, where did that shape think, like, did I think of that at the beginning with that shape? No, not at all. Like something
Definitely.
light could be very pretty. It's very elegant, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
for being like curvy and weird, which I love. I love curvy and weird.
Those shapes line up nicely back to back.
Yeah, especially when you're working with curves, like it's a good way to find like those little synchronicities within the shapes.
Yeah, Alexander said feminine product, so on the same wavelength.
I definitely see that. I mean, especially with like one-off letters too, you can always combine with like other type, like existing type too. So like if you wanted to make this a logo or something, we could do like the symbol and then the title, which is great. And I think that is really fun to find like matching or things that like that feels like the same, but it might not be the right contrast because it's not offsetting the symbol and the shape. It might be a little too similar, but like I just think it's so interesting.
Do you have any advice maybe for people just getting started about pairing fonts with, you know, letters?
Yeah,
Lettermarks?
so I would say don't overwhelm it. Definitely, like you don't want to be too busy. Like I would say this might be bordering on too busy, those two together. And definitely stick to like 2 total, especially if you have like a really unique letter that you're working with. You don't want it to be too complicated and complex, especially with logos. They need to go small, they need to go big, they need to go like all different ways. And you might have different color variations. And I just think that you should keep it more simple. Definitely more simple.
Yeah, definitely something to consider is like all the different contexts that your logo may be displayed in and how that affects what you choose.
Yeah, definitely. So like something that might look good with this is something like Baskerville. This is, let's get rid of that one. That one's too much for me. But like something like this, I think matches really well. It's like a very classic look, very like old style. And I think this really matches that energy. Kind of like it's kind of a weird equation, but I'm just thinking of Jane Austen because I like recently read some Jane Austen. I read Pride and Prejudice, and I just am thinking of that. So I feel like that goes kind of that feeling. Let's name this. Oh, that got messed up. I guess I didn't click all the way.
Yeah, it must have like still had some selected.
Yeah, I'll just do this again.
Yeah,
there we go. Let's name it like Luxie, if that was a brand.
Cute. Yeah, chat, let us know if you have any ideas.
Oh yeah, if you have a brand name idea for any of these. Definitely. Or like what it could be used for. Like what would this be used for, this W? I would love some suggestions because it's such a fun letter. I just don't know, like it might not be for branding. I also think it's really cool to do poster design or just anything like with lettering and like with custom lettering, like to showcase your work as well. It's such a fun way to just showcase letter forms. Like when I was making a typeface in university, my professor was like, she was the best. She was so fun. And I was working on my letters and stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna show them, like, I'm gonna showcase them in a book, and it's gonna be like really bold in the middle of the page. And she was like, I think that is the sexiest way to treat typography, like to just make it bold and in your face. I was like, that's such a funny way to put it. Like, I love that.
I could definitely see that particular letter there being like really, like absolutely filling the space that it occupies, like
Yeah.
big and just filling the space. Everybody's on the food wavelength. You're all saying snacks, snack brand.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
This, yeah, definitely snack brand. Actually, like this. I love how the difference is in the two that I made. I love that they look different.
Yeah, definitely. Just like the color change and the slightly different curves.
Yeah, it looks great. That's why it's fun to play around. It's like, you never know. You could make, even going over the same letter a couple times and see which variation that you like the best, especially if you're doing it more freeform like I'm doing right now. Like, it doesn't have to be the exact match to what you drew, or, you know, you started from scratch in Illustrator. That's fine too. Like, play around with that and then do it 3 times, 4 times, whatever, and then look at all your variations and say, okay, which one works, you know, which one's working for what I'm trying to create.
Chat says Alexander suggesting Wiener Schnitzel. I guess because of the W.
Oh my god.
Shape. Food brand for sure. Anna agrees. Anthony says snacks for the win.
That is so funny.
Stephen Booth is saying a kid's soft play venue, like maybe a kid's product.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Or like one of those, I don't know how to describe those, the like play
activity.
What are those? What
like,
do you call them?
Indoor play grounds.
Right.
Like, yeah, like not daycare or anything, but like indoor. There's always like a play mat, everything's soft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Annika's saying maybe some kind of puffs, like food.
Oh yeah, definitely. I could see that. Ooh.
Anthony says it looks like a hot dog bun. A hot dog with buns.
It does look like a hot dog. That's so funny.
Playing with some typing up half here.
Yeah, I just made an ellipse tool, circle, put it out there, and then typed on a path, brought it in. It's just fun. It's fun to play with type. And like, just, that's what I'm saying. This stuff really helps you with your future projects. It doesn't always have to be serious the first time you're doing it. And I think that's a good thing, because you don't want to not know what you're doing the first time. I think it's good to have practice.
Anthony's saying the W could be a part of a coffee shop.
Ooh.
Simu says, I can see my great nephew bouncing off of it. Yeah. Kind of like trampoline, one of those indoor trampoline things.
That's so funny. Like, they're picturing their nephew bouncing off a shape, off a letter. That's hilarious. I love that. Maybe it could be like a different purple. Very cute. I just don't know exactly where this would go, like within the shape, or like it could just be 2 different things, you know, like stand on its own, separately.
Definitely.
Like I said, like going back, if you missed the very beginning, like going back, this is kind of the gist of different variations that I was discussing. So like a lettermark, having that lettermark and then having the logo type separately, they don't ever have to be there together. And then you can have a symbol too if you really want to. Like with my logo, it's all type based. Like my personal logo, I don't have any symbol that represents me. So I have an initial, so I have a letter mark that works on a lot of different things, and then I have a logo type. So yeah. That's what's fun about it. That's what's fun about type-based logos. Cool variations.
Yeah. We are at about halfway through the stream. So if you are just joining, Paola gave us a quick overview where we've started and where we are at now. We're working on some lettering that you could use for like as a part of a branding project. If you are just joining us and you are wondering how you could get involved, you can nominate yourself or someone you know to be a guest on Adobe Live in our Behance chat. We've got a little tab. That's where you'll find all of the information that you need for guest recommendations.
Ooh, that's so fun. People can nominate.
But yeah, we're just playing with some letter forms here, working through these different ideas.
I know I'm deleting. I shouldn't delete. I should just bring them over to the side. I'm bringing them over to the side. You know what? I caught myself before things got worse.
You never know when you're gonna go back to an idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna do another similar shape. I'm just gonna make it again.
Starting with some straight lines this time.
Yeah, so again, you can start with straight lines with the pen tool. You don't always have to be doing curves too. But yeah. And like I said, I just love playing around with the pen tool. Like I know I can always go back and change things, so I don't get too stressed about what I'm doing off the bat.
Steven saying if he can't demolish it, he bounces off of it. It's his approach to life.
That's an amazing approach to life. I feel like everyone has something figured out that I don't. I'm jealous.
RB wants to know how long it took to master the pen tool.
Ooh. I mean, I wouldn't even consider myself a master. Like, I'm still figuring it out every day. Definitely took years in school to get good at it at all, but I think I wasn't practicing as much as I should have been. But yeah, it's not something you really need to master. I think you can always just be experimenting, staying curious.
Yep. It just takes, like you said, practice with it so that you kind of develop your own workflow, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Anthony's asking, so I could pick anyone. Yes, anybody that you would like to see, including yourself, on Adobe Live. You can make a recommendation by clicking on that tab.
That's so cool. Even these letters, I feel like you can always trace over them again and kind of make them better. So like I'm gonna trace over this one I had originally just to make it like a little bit better because I feel like the lines weren't straight.
Kind of using your drawing there as like a sketch for another letter variation.
Exactly. And I'm gonna lock it. I'm currently working in one layer, which I'm just a mess today, but that's fine. Like I stay messy, and that's my motto.
It's fine. That layer that's the sketching layer, and then you'll just copy what you want onto a new layer, and we'll
exactly. It's like I'll do that work later. I'll do my sketching layer. I'll do my final layer. Like I'll change everything when the time comes.
Steve has an interesting question about billing for like experimenting, or I guess kind of like the research phase of a project.
Oh, okay.
And if you how you go about that, or I guess maybe just in general your process when working on branding for like a client.
Like what is my process?
Yeah.
Well, I guess my process is pretty much this. If I'm doing custom lettering, I will plan out a bit more and definitely have things on like a grid or with guides and everything laid out. It does take a bit longer because it's not so much like playing with different shapes. It's like matching shapes to other shapes and making sure everything is like to a T. So yeah, there's definitely that. But then a lot of my work is not necessarily custom type. That's not like my specialty. It's just something I do with my clients depending on what they want. But yeah, my process with it is definitely always starting in Illustrator. Sometimes I don't even sketch if I'm doing something that's just like regular typeface, not not my own like really funky lettering or something. So yeah, like it doesn't always have to be from sketching for me because I don't sketch. Oops.
I would consider though, like, this is a form of sketching. You're sort of like iterating on your design. You're just sketching with shapes and with the pen tool instead of like with, a pencil. It's very similar.
And that's why I like starting in Illustrator because I can change so much. Like it's so flexible. It really does feel like I'm like working on paper, but just like it makes sense in my head. You know what I mean? Like this makes sense to me. But yeah. I'm just trying to think here what letter I should do. Ooh, actually, I just thought of something. Me having a thought for the first time.
Iterating on some eyes here. They're starting to remind me of like people, like different people standing.
Yeah, it's getting a little spooky.
Ooh.
I just wanted to see what would happen.
All right.
Like, let's just see what happens. And this is what I'm saying. Like, make ugly work, guys. It's okay. Like, so what? So what if it's ugly at the end of this? Like, I'm not gonna be upset about it. I'm just gonna go, oh, okay, that didn't work. Time to move on to the next thing.
Never know if you don't just do it.
Yes.
Like, if you don't try it, then you'll always be wondering, like, what if I had tried it, that way?
What if I had tried it?
Yeah. Like, what if you didn't? Then you wouldn't know. You'd never know.
Yeah. And I say this while I'm like afraid to commit to a shape right now because I'm afraid of what it's going to look like. So maybe I'm a little hypocritical. I don't know. Let's do that.
Looks like it could be the letter P.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Unite it. Just make sure that shape is one shape. Ooh.
Ooh, that's interesting.
That's
a little drippy.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way to put it. That's funny. I like that. It's a little drippy. It's like almost silly, but I like that.
Definitely.
And then I have these guides. Let's delete some of them. I'm all about like locking the guides, then going back. I love that keyboard shortcut, Option Command semicolon or colon. That's a great keyboard shortcut with the guides, especially if you're working with letters like this and just moving things around so quickly. You might catch one of those guides by accident, so can do that. So again, let's make this a different color so we can see while we put it on
music
top.
Note. It is kind of music note.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
So like let's do this shape on top. Let's see what that looks like.
That's fun.
Kind of fun. I just don't like this purple color. It's because I just was working in it. I just picked it randomly. Let's bring it back to black. I think that's where we can look at it.
What do you enjoy doing when you're not in Illustrator designing?
Like my real life?
Yes.
Outside of the computer?
Definitely.
Weird. I like to be outside because I live in a place with beautiful weather now, which I never did growing up. I lived in a lot of winter and stuff. Like right now it's summer here. So I'm happy and I love being outside. I love going to the beach here. And I Honestly, I just work a lot. Like, I don't even know what I do outside of that. I go to like
I feel that.
restaurants, I go on walks, I get bubble tea a lot. I'm obsessed with bubble tea. But yeah, like work is my life. But it's fun. That's why it is my life, because I love this life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But you go for walks. I mean, I think it's good to get away from the
Yeah.
computer at least
Yeah.
and do something.
I'm definitely not
touch.
on the computer all day. I try to break it up. So yeah, definitely not doing that all day. I play a lot of Nintendo Switch also.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm
Do you
always
have any
looking at a
favorite
screen.
games?
Animal
Of course.
Crossing, and right now the obsession is Disney Dreamlight Valley.
What is that?
It's
I don't
Disney's
even know what
game.
that
They came out
is.
with a game, and I thought it was going to be annoying because I saw people playing it on Twitch, and I was like, this doesn't look that fun. I got addicted. It's fun.
I don't even know what that game is. I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't know.
Oh yeah, you should look it up.
Anthony's
Oh yeah.
saying, I mentor high school students and I tell them it's the ugly work that makes more money.
That's
I think
genius.
I think it's more so that like being unafraid to make work that looks ugly lets you explore areas that maybe other people are afraid,
Yeah,
to step out and try something
definitely.
different.
Yeah, because I mean, look at all the different shapes we have here so far. Like, not all of them work, but I think like looking at all of them, we've created something really fun. Like, look at how many
Definitely.
different projects we could start from here, just drawing a
Definitely.
few letters. So yeah, it really is fun. I try to encourage people to draw in a type journal. Like
Oh, tell me
on
about that.
yeah, on my Patreon, I have a type club, and we kind of talk on Discord, and then I offer challenges and stuff. And I've I've kept a type journal for a long time. I don't do it every day now, but like in school, I used to do it every day, a letter every day, just one. And now I do it occasionally. Like sometimes I'll do month challenges for myself, just kind of self-motivated. And I'll say like, okay, I'm going to do a letter every day this month. So it's really a good practice. It's what has helped me do this. Like now I can sit down and, draw out ideas in a few minutes. And I think that's what really helped my practice. Just practicing in a journal every day. And I mean, it's so fun to just sit down and like scribble something out. And you can, in a type journal, you can do whatever you want. You could copy, you can trace, you're just practicing, you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to always come up with original work, but I think that will help you make original work later. Like I made this letter, and I don't think I would have been able to do that a little while ago if I hadn't been practicing and even copying things I found on Pinterest just for my type journal.
I love
Because
that letter is like recognizable, but also chaotic in a good, like I love it.
insane. It's insane. But it's like I've practiced so much, like copied so many curvy typefaces that I've been really into, because obviously that's very trendy. I've practiced so many and I've copied so many, and I went on Pinterest and I've looked at a lot of different things. And then now I'm able to sit there and go, okay, I drew a box with pencil. What can I do from here? And I literally just scribble it all out. Like it makes sense now in my head. And I think it took time to get there, but it just takes practice. That's all it takes.
Yeah, I've heard of that technique. I've actually tried it before myself, of like drawing a shape and then trying to fit the letter into that shape, and like fill the shape is a really interesting, like a way to kind of like get your head around that idea of pushing the shapes of the letters in different ways.
It is fun. Oh, something I was thinking about, especially with this letter, this A, like speaking of shapes, like you said, like putting it in a square, I thought could be really cool. Let's make it like brown. I don't know why. I just want to work with brown. I've been liking brown more in design actually lately, and it's not used enough. So let's do this. I was actually thinking about this, and I was like, oh, I really want to make that. And then you just reminded me saying that, drawing inside a shape.
I'm going to read out a comment while you work through this from Bex,
yeah.
which I think is really lovely. I'm a 40-year-old late blooming designer perfectionist, and this is therapeutic to me to just watch you try stuff without an outcome in mind. I need to give myself permission to mess around with stuff.
Yes. This is, yeah. I love that. That makes me so happy that I can like be any sort of inspiration or just help out with like your creative process as well, because that's like what I strive to do on my channel too, because it's just fun. Like design is meant to be fun and it's meant to be your own. And I think if you are making things that you like and that, you know, don't always have to be perfect end product, then you're getting somewhere, right? You're working towards something.
I'm
Look at
digging the
this little
contrast of
shape.
like the corners on the box and
Yeah.
the letter kind of filling, like we talked about, kind of like filling the space that it's in.
Yeah. I just think that's fun. I don't know. I like that. And I was thinking about it like if there were more boxes, like if it was just one long rectangle and then all of the letters were just cut out inside that.
Yeah.
I just really like that idea. And it's fun. It's so fun. Like this is what I'm saying. That comment really made me happy. It kind of made my day. Because yeah.
Well, thanks for
It's
that,
just
Bex.
yeah. It's just like having fun, making fun projects. Like it's okay to just try. It really is. Like it took me time to give myself permission as well and not have to think about a final product, not have to think about, you know, what deadline is looming or anything.
I definitely can relate to that for sure. Annika's asking, has Paola participated in 36 Days of Type or planning on this year?
I actually have never participated. I've always watched people participate. And I've never participated. When is it though? I don't even.
I feel like it's like in March or April.
Oh, okay.
Look it up because I can't remember.
I am always doing like little challenges and stuff throughout the year. Like right now I'm doing a challenge with my friend, kind of like a motivated. It's February, which it's a whole Instagram account and everything, but like I'm doing a little drawing and then I'm actually doing a watercolor every day this month. So yeah, really challenging myself. Like I said, I don't draw a lot, I don't paint, and I am trying something new because I really want to get into more stuff. And yeah, I'll make a video about it. I've been filming every day too.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah, that's funny. I was just talking about how watercolor's like the bane of my existence. I just don't understand it. It's so bad.
I really have a hard time with blending. Like, wow, it throws me off. But I would love to get into it, especially with type. Again, it's like all my projects come back to type. It's so fun to like add that knowledge, that new knowledge to typography. So I would love to do like watercolor type.
That would be super.
After I have some practice.
Yeah. John Coleman's asking, when creating random shapes, have you thought how they could be trademarked or service marked?
I suppose I haven't thought about that.
Yeah, I leave the legal stuff to the legal folks.
Yeah, I guess I'm just not, I'm not well versed in that type of stuff, but you know, if you are, more power to you.
Definitely. Oh, yeah, John says, or do you leave that to your clients? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely leave that to them. And I mean, I give them the rights once it's passed off and finalized, like I give them the rights. I just retain like any changes. I'm not sure how that legal jargon is written out in my contract, but I haven't looked at it in a little bit.
Yes.
But yeah.
Not sure how it's written out, but I have a contract.
Yeah, it's like important. I have the contract and I know that it's good.
Yep. Make sure you have a contract. I cannot stress that enough.
Oh yeah. I'm actually going to be making a contract video soon too.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Coming out soon in a few days. So I was going to go over it. I was going to look over my contract that I haven't looked at in a bit. And see what I can change and update.
Bex is following up with, my whole career prior to setting out on my own was about process and efficiency. So it's been a challenge to retrain my brain to experiment and waste time. Well, it's not wasting time.
Yeah,
you
you're
know.
definitely not wasting time doing this stuff. I mean, like I said, it's helped me so much in my projects, and I think that that's not wasted time because I actually do see the benefits of this when I work. And like I said, I'm not always doing this. Like I'm doing a lot of other challenges and stuff in the meantime and, you know, self-motivated projects and that helps me too. I'm not always doing the same things or just sitting here with an open-ended project. I just feel like this is a good visual way to show what I like to do. So here's what we're doing. Here's what we're working with.
I like that you did it in like two parts so you could kind of like
Yes.
figure out the curves easier.
Yeah, it's okay to build. You don't have to like go around one big loop. That's definitely a little bit stressful. I wouldn't want to like perfect everything from there. I just kind of work in stages.
Back to saying that's why I put waste time in quotes because it feels that way even though it's not. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe the more you do it, it won't feel that way. It'll feel like something productive.
Is there any advice that you would give your younger self, like your past self?
Ooh. My past self as a designer, like I would say like maybe like me in university, I would give myself the advice to take more opportunities and yeah, I definitely take more opportunities. I didn't like do as much as I could have in school. I think I was a little bit preoccupied on other things. And yeah, it's stressful. I mean, you're in school, you're stressed, but yeah, I would have done more. Might have made it more fun for me if I had participated more.
Anthony saying Paola with the resources. Garrett saying you can classify it as personal development training.
Oh, I love that. Development training. Then you can like write that in your calendar, like, oh, I have to do development training.
No, well, yeah, why not?
I'm busy with development training. I always think of that TikTok sound that's like, don't bother me. I'm having enrichment time in my enclosure. Like you're an animal. I love it. Like that's me when I'm inside working on things. But yeah, lots of new projects coming up with actually good resources to what I'm talking about. So that's good. All kind of pertains to this.
And you're working with right now, it looks like you were working with the curvature pen tool there to kind of adjust the points while keeping the curves.
Yeah, so I'm just seeing like sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it works, but I think it definitely smooths things out overall. But it's just about trial and error. And that's what I think is okay. Like with the pen tool, it's about trial and error, you know?
That's like one of my I never understood the curvature pen tool until I started using it to like pull on existing shapes. And I was like, oh, now I see. Now
Yeah.
I get it.
I know. I didn't get it at first either. I was like, okay, what's this gonna do for me? Like, like, is it really gonna change anything? And I was like, oh yeah, it is. Like, it's gonna look good.
Yeah. And now I get it. It's really great for that. Like you said, kind of like smoothing points or curves or adding
Yeah. And some things you just have to adjust yourself, and that's okay. There we go.
John Coleman saying this that you could have a time wasters group.
I love that. And just sit around, play with letters, practice.
I love that this letter just looks like it could have been like squeezed out of like a tube of paint.
Oh yeah, it's very painty. It definitely has paint energy. I love to talk about like letters like that. It's just so fun. So let's connect that. Like if that goes there. And then we will unite the shape.
Nice.
Let's change that to black to see how it looks. And let's compare it, because sometimes things can change in the process. So you can always go back for reference too. But yeah, it's really looking like how I was intending. It's even looking more smooth, obviously, because we brought it into a vector. And that's what we're trying to do here, right? Like, it doesn't have to be all drawing, unless you wanted the drawing, like if you used a pencil or something and you wanted that look, you could keep that with like image trace. You could do that as well. But yeah, I definitely like a smooth look. That's very neat. The vectors really work. So yeah, okay. So what I want to do with this, and this is another one, which the no spoilers thing, another one I already worked with. So there is another variation of this. But this is where it really comes together. I prepared for this one. Let's reflect it vertically. And now look at that shape. It makes me so happy.
That's really cool.
It looks like a butterfly to me.
Oh yeah, definitely. I see the butterfly wing shape.
Yeah, look at that.
With the silhouette.
And that's kind of like the inspiration here was kind of Loewe, like I said at the beginning, with this letter mark. This is a letter, it's the letter L for Loewe, but they've just flipped it around a bunch of ways and made a type symbol, which I love. I love that concept. And then they can use just the L on its own also, you know? And I think this it just reminded me of that, like how I got started with the thought process.
Definitely, that's super cool. Yeah, Annika saying it does look like a butterfly.
Yeah, right? Like, it's kind of funny. Once I put it together, I was like, whoa. Or like, what are those ink blot things?
The Rorschach test or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm
it kind
pronouncing
of
that
reminds
correctly.
me. Rorschach. Yeah, I think it's Rorschach.
It does,
it kind of reminds me of that. And then you could do something really funky. You could do some color. Like that.
We've got about 15 minutes left. Just wanted to let you know.
Okay, cool.
But give you a time update. And everybody in the chat, we've got about 15 minutes left. If you have any questions that you want to get in for Paola.
Oh, yeah. Let me know. So yeah, this would be it on its own. And then maybe like something like this, like a butterfly shape, or even like organic shapes for like bones, like something that you don't think of as soft. It's kind of mixing that hard and soft. Kind of looks like bones to me too.
A little bit like a it's giving me like MRI brain scan vibes.
Ooh,
but
yeah,
also like
the wave
vertebrae.
A
little bit. Maybe pelvis.
Yeah,
lots of things.
That shape. So this was the original one I did too, just so I could kind of go with the flow. Just so I knew like what I had to work with today. And then I actually think, let's compare these two shapes.
John's saying one right one looks kind of like a face from the side.
Oh yeah. Kind of funky. Like that would be a really interesting way to illustrate. So here's the two that I've created kind of near each other. I think they ended up, they have different variations to them, definitely. So that's something to consider when playing around with these things, especially with different weighted lines, because there's really thin moments and really thick moments. Just wondering like what you like better. Like I almost like if I were to ununite the shape, I almost like this bottom more and this top more. So it's like if you work in those stages, you can kind of work to combine.
Yeah, right.
If you're working in like separate pieces and then moving forward from there, I think that's a really fun way to do it.
Yeah, kind of like assembly.
Yeah, especially because it is such a flowy shape. You wouldn't think you can assemble that way, but you still can. You can still build on these letters that way. So what I did with this, so I was kind of thinking this one is definitely in the realm of like luxury brand logo, just because that was what I was talking about being so beneficial with this lettermark. And then the W I did a fun texture with. So I'm just gonna show you guys on Photoshop. I got this stuff I got the texture pack and the template pack from Adobe Stock. So definitely check that out. I just look up like templates, the templates section, and then I did like overset text, overlet. I did something like print effect. Just try it out. So this is kind of like a grainy texture. It's kind of like I said, type poster, like a really fun way to showcase just a letter you worked on. It doesn't have to be for a logo even. It could just be like fun design to be posting or sharing with people or just showcasing your work. Like even if you hung this up, a print, hang it up on your wall, something fun with a letter. I really like this print look.
Yeah, the kind of soft edges. Like ink
kind of
bleed.
like if it was screen printed. Yeah, ink bleed. That's a good way to put it. And then this I did into a little mock-up.
Love that.
Yeah, and I love the mock-ups on Adobe Stock. They're like, they look so cool. Like this one looked awesome. And I just thought, again, with that luxury brand, what would it look like on a billboard or what would it look like on the streets? You know, because I think that's a way that those brands market. So I think this is a great way to show like a campaign. So I just went with the logo. I mean, I didn't use any like photos or anything, but I just thought, yeah, love that. I love how it turned out, and I love that it does evoke like a butterfly shape. I saw a recent clothing brand type artist that I follow. Her name's Margot. She does type, and she did the type for a clothing brand just for their like bags and stuff, and it looked so incredible. It was kind of like a butterfly-esque shape too. It was very thick letters, like big block letters too, but it looked so good. I was like, wow, that's so cool. Type work everywhere, you know. It's something you wouldn't even think is type, and it turns into its own shape.
Definitely a really cool exploration to see how like you can use type as not as letters, but as just like an element of design.
Yeah, definitely. Like it takes on its own life, I think, especially when you're playing with the abstract in lettering, like this Y or G or whatever you want to call it, like could be something completely different. And you can really make it its own living, breathing thing. And I love that with design, especially with typography.
Awesome. Yeah, and it gives you a sense of like the scale and the mock-up. The mock-up's nice because then you can really see like how it would imagine it being like.
Yeah, imagine it on a really large scale. Like, what does it hold up to? I think that's a good thing to think about. And obviously, like, there would be more time if you really work on this. You could work on it for a really long period of time and really perfect it. But for what we've created here, I think it's incredible. It's fun. Like, not that I'm patting myself on the back too much. I'm just saying, like, it's really great it's great to put your stuff in mock-ups too, to like really visualize.
For sure.
So, yeah.
And it also, and for client work too, like show clients what it looks like.
Exactly. It's like, imagine your work on a billboard. Like, really imagine it big scale. And this template definitely looked realistic, which I like.
Do you want to give us kind of like an overview of everything we did today?
Oh yeah, definitely. With our messy boards and
hey, chaos. I love to see it. This is it. This is the real work. I mean, anybody that's done branding has done this.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so what we covered basically were the different types of logo variations, and I was going to be working with type. So we made a lot of different letter marks, I would say, today. We made some fun, really round shapes and different things that you can use for different branding projects. Like, could they be brands, or could they even just be custom type that you use in your own work in general? Just really fun, creative, practical ways to make letters, bringing in those things from your sketchbook. Like, how does that look? How can you create those things into vector format? And I mean, look at how the sketches were. Look at how this penciled drawing turned into a really fun shape. So I think that's what's important, to play, to try things.
Yeah.
And, you know, we created something really fun here, and I'm happy with it.
I definitely think the takeaway for today was just play, and it was nice seeing all of your different, really taking all those different sketches and like seeing what they could become, from like, you know, your real loose pencil sketches all the way to like your more sort of like gridded out designs, and then, you know, playing with them was really cool.
Yeah, it's really fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining today, everyone. And thanks to Paola for sharing your process with us. Paola, please let everybody know again where they can find you and follow your work.
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube. I'm Paola Kassa everywhere, at Paola Kassa everywhere. Even on YouTube, they have the apps now, so you can find me very easily. My channel is where I post all the graphic design work, and then my Instagram, I share a lot of my projects on there and more of my life. So check it out, and yeah, get some inspiration from me, hopefully.
Yeah, and stay tuned for those resource videos on contracts and stuff in the future.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with us. And stay tuned. We've got Ben and Ari up next with a new episode of the Adobe Fonts Show, taking a look. Oh, I can't talk, at variable fonts. And yes, Annika's saying James from Logotype is going to be joining us, which is going to be super fun. But yeah, thank you so much, Paola. And goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for all the questions.